This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
politician.com.
When given opportunity to declare why I shouldn't be held in contempt, I give the same answer I have always given. Basically, no one should ever be punished for peaceably defending the Constitution. But, I say, I would be honored to suffer for this fate. I would be honored to suffer for this cause if need be, and consider this a good hill to die on. I questioned the lone witness, perhaps my chief tormentor.
He is Mike Therian, an ex-Air Force colonel.
An ex-Air Force colonel now directing Homeland Security bureaucracies for northern New England.
I'm the press. I don't care if you're press or not. No cameras inside. So there's no freedom of the press in this building? Not inside the building. I'll show you the statute in a second. Turn off the cameras.
During the hearing, I asked Colonel Therian if he has sworn an oath to the Constitution. I asked if he is familiar with Amendment 10. He is not. I quote it and attempt to inform him that he is in violation of it. Attorney Irish objects and is sustained. Cameras are banned from the courtroom, but Therian looks uncomfortable.
He is meant to be uncomfortable, but to his credit,
He seems to take no pleasure
depositing his saber in my gut.
The judge pays me 3 backhanded compliments. He says he believes I will pay no fines, that I will not likely comply with any probationary sentences, and that I am not a threat to the community. Then he finds me in contempt and puts me in jail. Sentenced to 4 days incarceration. "You're coming with me," says a gruff voice behind. The voice orders me to place my hands behind my back, but I just stand there. A marshal seizes my wrists, places them behind me, and secures handcuffs. I leave the room slowly to the chagrin of the officer, but our interaction is not destined to remain harsh. Once away from the onlookers, our conversation evolves. "Did you take an oath to the Constitution?" I ask.
politician.com.
"None of your business," he replies, a little louder than need be. "Is this the kind of thing you signed up for? Locking people up for handbill distribution?" "I don't lock people up," he says. He presses the button on an elevator, which takes me to lockup. I thank him, and note that the button pressing is easier for him than for me. "That it is," he replies. Now more questions ensue, and he begins to answer them. "Would you shoot Ed Brown?" I ask. "He would in certain circumstances," he says, but would prefer not to. He refers to the marshal's relative restraint in the Ed Brown case. I inform him I appreciate that as far as it goes. A second marshal or security person joins us. We enter a processing area. The environment continues to relax. "Who is Russell Canning?" they ask me, because I have a Russell Canning t-shirt on, a free Russell Canning t-shirt on. "He's the last guy you arrested for doing this," I reply. "He's the man your boys inflicted pain on because he wouldn't walk where you told him to." We discuss physical noncompliance, the sort of go-limp approach, which I've never tried. They are glad of this, inform me that it serves no purpose, and just makes it harder on the prisoner. Jailers arrive. I discover, or at least recall, the marshal's name is Tom. They all react comfortably when I refuse to answer most personal questions, and they enter my birth date as 1/1/20. 4 of them are now in the room, and they engage me regarding my concerns. I thank him for this. One says he'd rather go after sex offenders than demonstrators like me. I say I would rather he did that and nothing else. His name is Deputy Barry, the picture of friendly professionalism. I should probably check the constitutionality of federal sex crime hunts, but granting his wish would certainly be an improvement over what we have now. I suggest they quit their jobs, but am half joking. I tell them if I were a Fed, I'd probably keep my job, and, from that station, try to minimize the harm such a job inflicts on the public. Now I am moved to a holding cell in leg irons. This is where you'll spend the afternoon, they tell me.
Now alone, I get to work scrawling nhfree.com on the seatbacks.
The marshal, Mark, returns to ask me a question. Instead, he shakes his head in mild exasperation. Are you doing that with your fingernails? Nothing else to do, I respond. Does it look okay? He turns to leave. Didn't you have a question for me? Seems to have slipped my mind, he responds dryly. After 6 hours, men in blue appear with chains. County deputies. Secretly, they load me into a vehicle ominously decorated with Massachusetts tags.
They ship me to the Essex County Jail and
Ominously decorated with Massachusetts tags.
They ship me to the Essex County Jail in Middleton, Massachusetts. Meanwhile, half a dozen of my friends, perhaps cleverly tricked, proceed to besiege the New Hampshire facility I mistakenly expected to enter.
Destined for an increasingly alien land, condemned to grapple with a more hardened and malevolent system than exists in New Hampshire, I jostle and squirm in a death-trap excuse for a paddy wagon. Soon I will enter the dark world of penal Massachusetts, and my real trial will begin. Have you heard of
Politician.com.
Well, if you're a freedom fighter,
Politician.com.
has heard of you.
Politician.com.
Keeps the world up to date on your battle for liberty.
Politician.com.
Ron Paul revolutionaries, free staters, Libertarian Party diehards.
Politician.com.
Helps get the word out about all three. Oh, and if you're a freedom lover in the Green or Democrat Party, Politician.com hasn't forgotten you either. Head to
Politician.com.
and see what you've been up to.
Politician.com.